हम लोग गवर्नर जनरल वाइसराय ऑफ इंडिया, ठीक। की रिफॉर्म्स एंड पॉलिसीज देखा जाए, पहले देखा जाए रॉबर्ट क्लाइव 1757 टू 1767। रॉबर्ट क्लाइव प्लेड ए क्रूशियल रोल इन एस्टेब्लिशिंग ब्रिटिश रोल इन इंडिया थ्रू एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव, मिलिट्री एंड इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म। कैसे? सिविलियन रिफॉर्म क्या किया उन्होंने? क्लाइव imposed a strict ban on gifts and private trade by officials to curb corruption and unethical practices, ठीक। he introduced a system where मतलब रॉबर्ट क्लाइव where the salaries of British officials were paid by company rather than through personal revenue collection, ठीक। कंपनी पे करती थी। established the society of trade, giving senior company servant privileges in commerce while maintaining regulation। अब क्लाइव reorganized the army to ensure the loyalty of Indian सिपाही। The double allowance or patta system was reduced, leading to dissatisfaction among soldiers. In 1765, Clive secured the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, giving the British East India Company control over revenue collection. वारेन हेस्टिंग रिफॉर्म्स 1772 टू 1785 क्या है? वारेन हेस्टिंग, द फर्स्ट गवर्नर जनरल ऑफ बंगाल 1774, इनिशिएटेड द न्यूमरस रिफॉर्म्स इन एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, जुडिशियरी एंड रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन, ठीक। एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म देखा जाए, इन 1772 हेस्टिंग इंडेड द डुअल गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम ऑफ बंगाल विच हैड बीन द प्लेस सिंस 1765, इंश्योरिंग डायरेक्ट ब्रिटिश कंट्रोल ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। He transferred the state treasury from Murshidabad to Calcutta, consolidating British authority in Bengal. Revenue reforms were undertaken through trial and error method, as Hastings believed the land belonged to the ruler. The Regulating Act of 1773 made Hastings the Governor General of Bengal and established the Executive Council of 5 members to assist in governance. Of 1773, judicial and legal reforms क्या है? Introduce new judicial system with 2 courts in each district, जैसे दीवानी अदालत सिविल कोर्ट्स अंडर ब्रिटिश जजेस, फौजदारी अदालत क्रिमिनल कोर्ट्स अंडर इंडियन जजेस, सुपरवाइज्ड बाय ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल। Established सदर दीवानी अदालत कोर्ट ऑफ अपील फॉर सिविल केसेस एंड सदर निजामत अदालत कोर्ट ऑफ अपील फॉर क्रिमिनल केसेस। Codified Hindu and Muslim laws by engaging Indian scholars to translate texts. Okay. 1772 में Hastings ended the dual government system of Bengal. Hastings auctioned the right to collect revenue to the highest bidder, replacing Clive's earlier system. एक बार फिर से इसको देख लिया जाए, मेरे दिमाग में आया नहीं। Clive reorganized the army to ensure loyalty of Indian सिपाही। Double allowance or patta system was reduced, leading the dissatisfaction among soldiers. In 1765, Clive secured the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, giving British East India Company control over revenue collection. Warren Hastings का क्या reforms? In 1772 to 1785, Warren Hastings, the first Governor General of Bengal 1774, initiated numerous reforms in administration, judiciary and revenue collection, ठीक। Administrative reforms क्या क्या? In 1772, Hastings ended dual government system of Bengal, which had been in place since 1765, ensuring direct British control over administration. He transferred the state treasury from Murshidabad to Calcutta, consolidating British authority in Bengal. बहुत कन्फ्यूजन में हो जा रहा हूँ, मैं भूल जा रहा हूँ। Clive organized the army to ensure loyalty of Indian सिपाही। Double allowance या पट्टा system was reduced, leading the dissatisfaction among soldiers, ठीक। 1765, Clive secured the Diwani rights of Bengal, Bihar and Odisha, giving British East India Company control over revenue collection. मतलब सिर्फ रेवेन्यू कलेक्शन का वो लिया था, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव कलेक्शन अभी नहीं लिया था, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव नहीं संभाल रहे थे। वारेन हेस्टिंग रिफॉर्म, फिर वारेन हेस्टिंग आए क्लाइव के बाद 1772 to 1785. Warren Hastings, the first Governor General of Bengal, initiated numerous reforms. ये गवर्नर थे रॉबर्ट क्लाइव, ठीक. फिर आए गवर्नर जनरल वारेन हेस्टिंग, ठीक. डुअल गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम लागू किया 1772 में. अच्छा, इंड किया डुअल गवर्नमेंट. हाँ, यही मुझे नहीं समझ में आ रहा था, इंड तो मैं पढ़ ही नहीं रहा था. इन 1772 वारेन हेस्टिंग इंडेड द डुअल गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम ऑफ बंगाल विच हैड बीन प्लेस्ड सिंस 1765 इंश्योरिंग द ब्रिटिश कंट्रोल ओवर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. मतलब रॉबर्ट क्लाइव ने डुअल गवर्नमेंट सिस्टम शुरू किया, लेकिन हेस्टिंग ने क्या उसको अबेंडन कर दिया. उन्होंने ही ट्रांसफर द स्टेट ट्रेजरी फ्रॉम मुर्शिदाबाद टू कलकत्ता, कंसोलिडेटिंग ब्रिटिश अथॉरिटी इन बंगाल. ठीक. रेवेन्यू रिफॉर्म्स वर टेकन even through trial and error method, as Hastings believed the land belonged to the ruler. Reforms were through trial and error method. Regulating Act 1773 made Hastings the Governor General of Bengal, established executive council of 5 members to assist governance. Judicial and legal reform introduced new judicial system with 2 courts in each district. ये रॉबर्ट हेस्टिंग कर रहे हैं. दीवानी अदालत, सिविल कोर्ट अंडर ब्रिटिश जजेस, फौजदारी अदालत, criminal court under Indian judges supervised by British officials, established Sadar Diwani Adalat, Court of Appeal for Civil Cases, and Sadar Nijamat Adalat, Court of Appeal for Criminal Cases. Diwani Adalat, civil courts under British judges, फौजदारी अदालत, क्रिमिनल कोर्ट अंडर इंडियन जजेस सुपरवाइज्ड बाय ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल्स, एस्टेब्लिश सदर दीवानी अदालत, कोर्ट ऑफ अपील फॉर सिविल केसेस, एंड सदर निजामत अदालत, कोर्ट ऑफ अपील फॉर क्रिमिनल केसेस. कोडिफाइड हिंदू एंड मुस्लिम लॉज बाय इंगेजिंग इंडियन स्कॉलर्स टू ट्रांसलेट टेक्स्ट्स. इकोनॉमिक एंड रेवेन्यू रिफॉर्म्स. हेस्टिंग्स ऑक्शन द राइट टू कलेक्ट रेवेन्यू टू द हाईएस्ट बिडर. ठीक. 1772 replacing Clive's earlier system, introduced a system where revenue was collected by Indian middlemen, amla, under British supervision. The 5-year settlement system for land revenue led the exploitation, later replaced by the permanent settlement 1793 under Cornwallis. 5-year settlement system for land revenue. 5-year settlement system for land revenue led the exploitation, later replaced by permanent settlement under Cornwallis. Cornwallis ने क्या वो शुरू किया, परमानेंट सेटलमेंट 1793 में. ठीक. मिलिट्री एंड फॉरेन पॉलिसी. रिंग फेंस थ्योरी. ठीक. द रिंग फेंस थ्योरी 1765 to 1813 aimed to protect British territories by maintaining a buffer of friendly Indian states. First implemented to protect Bengal from Maratha incursions by supporting Awadh financially and militarily. Ring fence policy aimed to protect British territories by maintaining the buffer of friendly Indian states. First implemented to protect Bengal from Maratha incursions by supporting Awadh financially and militarily. Warren Hastings and Wellesley followed this policy before it evolved into Subsidiary alliance under Lord Wellesley. मतलब हेस्टिंग और वेलेस्ली ने पहले सपोर्ट किया अवध को कि तुम मराठास के खिलाफ लड़ो ताकि वो बंगाल को सुरक्षित रख पाए. ठीक. ये किसने, रिंग फेंस थ्योरी को किसने इस्तेमाल किया? वारेन हेस्टिंग और वेलेस्ली ने. आगे चल के वेलेस्ली ने क्या किया, सब्सिडरी अलायंस को अप्लाई कर दिया. ठीक. ओके. कल्चरल एंड एजुकेशनल रिफॉर्म. एशियाटिक सोसाइटी ऑफ बंगाल was founded 15 January 1784 by Sir William Jones with Warren Hastings' support to promote the study of Indian history, culture and languages. Impeachment proceeding against Hastings. Due to allegation of corruption and atrocities, impeachment proceedings were initiated against Hastings in 1788. Trial lasted 7 years, 1788 to 1795, but ended in this acquittal. In his acquittal. Acquittal मतलब क्या होता है? Acquittal मतलब not guilty. ठीक. British policies toward Indian provinces 1740 to 1947. Companies struggle for equality 1740 to 1765 तक चला. ट्रीटी ऑफ इलाहाबाद के बाद वो पावर में आ गए. The British East India Company sought parity with Indian rulers and gradually increased its influence. Policy of ring fence 1765 से 1813 तक introduced by Warren Hastings to protect British territory using buffer state जैसे अवध. Policy of subordinate isolation. British avoided direct interference in princely states but controlled their external relations 1813 से लेके 1857 तक. ठीक. Policy of subordinate union 1858 से 1935. British Indian states were integrated into colonial framework while being kept subordinate. Okay. फिर पॉलिसी ऑफ इक्वल फेडरेशन 1935 से 1947 तक. द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1935 laid the foundation for an Indian federation, giving princely states a say in governance. ठीक. जुडिशियल एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म्स बाय ब्रिटिश जुडिशियल रिफॉर्म्स अंडर वॉरेन हेस्टिंग्स देखा जाए. Established a hierarchical judicial system consisting of Diwani and Faujdari courts. Diwani courts handled civil cases and were supervised by European officials. Faujdari courts handled criminal cases and were initially under Indian judges but later supervised by British officials. 1772 Hastings concentrated judicial power in the hands of district collectors, making them Diwani judges. 1787 district collectors were granted some Faujdari powers. Okay. Hastings concentrated judicial power in the hands of district collectors, making them Diwani rights. अच्छा. डिस्ट्रिक्ट कलेक्टर के हाथ में इन्होंने रखा सारा पावर. ठीक. फौजदारी कोर्ट्स में हैंडल्ड क्रिमिनल केसेस एंड वेयर इनिशियल अंडर इंडियन जजेस बट लेटर सुपरवाइज्ड बाय ब्रिटिश ऑफिशियल्स. ठीक. दीवानी कोर्ट्स में क्या हैंडल्ड सिविल केसेस एंड वेयर सुपरवाइज्ड बाय यूरोपियन ऑफिशियल. 17 Hastings concentrated judicial power in the hand of district collectors, making them divine judges. 1787 में क्या हुआ? District collectors were granted some फौजदारी powers. 1790 to 92 क्या हुआ? District फौजदारी courts were abolished. 4 court circuits were established. कौन सा? 3 in Bengal and 1 in Bihar, headed by European judges with assistant of Qazis and Mufti. कब? 1790 to 92 में. Cornwallis judicial reform 1793 क्या हुआ? Introduced the Cornwallis Court 1793, a set of judicial reform based on the principle of separation of powers. ठीक. Revenue and judicial power were separated. District courts, judicial and फौजदारी powers were revoked, limiting them to tax collection. Hierarchy of official was established for district Diwani courts. European judges were given control over फौजदारी and police functions, laid the foundation of Indian civil services, ensuring that appointments were based on merit. Cornwallis served as Governor General of Bengal 1786 to 1793 and later again from 30 July 1805 to 5 July 1805. Laid the foundation. अच्छा क्या बताऊँ, दिमाग में नहीं आ रहा मेरे. Governor General of Bengal 1828 and later Governor General of India 1835 to 33 to 35. Charter Act of 1833 centralized British administration in India. Became Governor General of Bengal 1828 and later Governor General of India 1833 to 35. After the Charter Act of 1833 centralized British administration in India. Reform abolition of sati 1829 declared illegal and punishable. Suppression of Thuggy 1826 to 1835 led by Captain Sleeman 1562 thugs were arrested. ठीक फीमेल इन्फेंटिसाइड एक्ट 1934 banned female infanticide. Abolition of slavery 1833 reinforced in 1843 and 1860 declared illegal in most part of India. Charter Act of 1833 made Governor General of Bengal the Governor General of India 1833 में Indian civil services opened to Indians, though effectively restricted under later reforms. Reinforced abolition of slavery and commercial monopolies of East India Company. Judicial reforms shifted from traditional Indian legal system to European style and centralized judiciary. Administrative policies established a bureaucratic structure with the ICS at its core. Subsidiary alliance allowed British dominance over princely states without direct annexation. Social reform Bentinck's tenure was significant for progressive legal changes like abolition of sati and thuggy. These policies strengthened British control, ultimately leading to nationalist resistance and Indian independence movement. Anglo-Nepal War 1814 to 16 and the Treaty of Sugauli. एंग्लो-नेपाल वार में कौन? लॉर्ड हेस्टिंग 1813 to 1823. The British East India Company fought against Gurkha Kingdom of Nepal due to territorial disputes. फिर क्या हुआ? ट्रीटी ऑफ सुगौली हुआ 1860 में. नेपाल लॉस्ट सिक्किम, कुमायूं और गढ़वाल. ठीक. The British resident was stationed in Kathmandu. Nepal agreed to British sovereignty over the Tarai region. तराई रीजन में ब्रिटिश सोवर्निटी लगभग. एनेक्सेशन ऑफ अवध 1856 एंड डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ लैप्स. जेम्स आउटरम 1854 रिप्लेस्ड स्लीमैन एज ब्रिटिश रेसिडेंट इन अवध. आउटरम्स रिपोर्ट accused नवाब वाजिद अली शाह of maladministration, forming the pretext of British annexation. Lord Dalhousie 1848 to 1506 annexed Awadh in February 1856. डॉक्ट्राइन ऑफ लैप्स से किन किन उससे लिया गया? सतारा को सबसे पहले 1848 में, फिर जैतपुर एंड संबलपुर 1849 में, बाघत 1850 में, उदयपुर 1852 में, झांसी 1854 में, नागपुर 1854 में. Development of railways and public infrastructure. Lord Dalhousie initiated railway construction in India. First railway line Bombay to Thane 1853, operated by the Great Indian Peninsula Railway. Objective of railway: export of raw materials from India's interior to British ports. Swift military movement to suppress revolts. Public Work Department PWD established under Dalhousie. Major spending on roads, bridges and canals. Hindu Widow Marriage Act 1856. Hindu Widow Remarriage Act 1856 passed by Lord Canning 1856 due to the effort of Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. Legalized widow remarriage under section 15. Prominent reformers Thondo Keshav Karve, widow ashram in Pune in 1899. Vishnu Sastry supported widow remarriage. ठीक. Hindu Marriage Act passed by Lord Canning with the efforts of Ishwar Chand Vidyasagar. Legalized widow remarriage under section 15. Prominent reformer Dhondo Keshav Karve, widow ashram of Pune in 1899. Vishnu Sastry supported widow remarriage. Queen's Proclamation 1858 and the end of company rule. Result of the 1857 revolt. British Crown took direct control of India. Proclaimed on 1st November 1858 by Lord Canning in Allahabad. ठीक. Result of the 1857 revolt. British Crown took direct control of India. क्वींस प्रोक्लेमेशन ऑफ 1858, ठीक। रिजल्ट इन 18 लॉर्ड कैनिंग इलाहाबाद इन द ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रूल 1858 में लॉर्ड कैनिंग बिकेम द फर्स्ट वाइसरॉय ऑफ इंडिया। क्वीन विक्टोरिया वाज डिक्लेयर्ड द सोवरेन ऑफ इंडिया। दिल्ली दरबार 1877 में क्या हुआ? क्वीन विक्टोरिया वाज गिवन द टाइटल केसरी हिंद। एंग्लो अफगान वार, फर्स्ट एंग्लो अफगान वार 1839 to 1842, गवर्नर जनरल लॉर्ड ऑकलैंड led the failed British attempt to establish a puppet regime in Afghanistan. Second Anglo-Afghan War 1878 to 1880, Governor General Lord Lytton initiated the war to counter Russian influence. सेकेंड एंग्लो अफगान वार, पहला तो लॉर्ड ऑकलैंड ने वो किया था, दूसरा गवर्नर जनरल लॉर्ड लिटन इनिशिएटेड द वार टू काउंटर रशियन इन्फ्लुएंस, ठीक। एबोलिशन ऑफ स्लेवरी 1843 एंड ब्रिटिश एक्सपेंशन, गवर्नर जनरल लॉर्ड एलिनबर्ग 1842 एबोलिश द स्लेवरी एक्ट 5 of 1843. Sindh was annexed in 1843, merging fully into British India in August 1844. Masterly inactivity policy by John Lawrence. किसने वो किया था? जॉन लॉरेंस ने। Avoided direct British intervention in Afghan affairs after first Anglo-Afghan War, ठीक। फर्स्ट सेंसस इन इंडिया क्या है? and Lord Mayo's assassination. First census 1872 under Lord Mayo 1869 to 72. First comprehensive census 1881 under Lord Ripon. Lord Mayo assassinated 1872 in Andaman and Nicobar Island by prisoner शेर अली अफरीदी। शेर अली अफरीदी ने लॉर्ड मायो को मार दिया था अंडमान एंड निकोबार में 1872 में। मतलब बताइए, वो सेंसस करवाएं और वहाँ वो जाके मर गए। और फर्स्ट कम्प्रीहेंसिव सेंसस 1881 में बाय लॉर्ड रिपन। रेलवेज एंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इनिशिएटेड अंडर डलहौजी फॉर कमर्शियल मिलिट्री पर्पस। सोशल रिफॉर्म्स, हिंदू विडो रिमैरेज एक्ट 1856 एंड एबोलिशन ऑफ सती 1829, ठीक। पॉलिटिकल चेंजेस, इंडिया ऑफ ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी रूल 1858, ट्रांजिशन टू ब्रिटिश क्राउन रूल। Afghanistan policy, masterly inactivity 1844 to 1878, followed by Second Anglo-Afghan War 1878-1888. These developments strengthened British rule over, but also sowed the seeds of nationalism, leading the freedom movements. Vernacular Press Act 1878, Lord Lytton. 1876. Passed the Lord Lytton's tenure. Vernacular Press Act कब? Lord Lytton's tenure to curb press freedom, also called the Silencing Act. It restricted Indian language newspapers from publishing content critical to British rule. Arkeson Perry called it a dangerous step against India's right to expression. Arkeson Perry. Sri S.N. Banerjee termed it as a lightning from the sky, emphasizing its oppressive nature. Second Anglo-Afghan War, Lytton changed British policy towards Afghanistan. The war was fought to counter Russian influence and resulted in the British gaining control over Afghanistan foreign affairs. ठीक। Ilbert Bill controversy 1883, Lord Ripon 1880 to 1884। क्या हुआ था यहाँ? Sir C.P. Ilbert, a law member of Viceroy Executive Council, introduced this bill on 2nd February 1883. Objective क्या है? To allow Indian judges to try European offenders in criminal cases. British opposition. The bill faced severe backlash from British officials and planters as they saw it as an attack on their privileges. Result क्या है? The bill was watered down, highlighting racial discrimination under British rule. Lord Ripon's pro-Indian reforms, considered the most pro-Indian Viceroy Lord Ripon, advocating for self-government and social justice. Liberty law member of Viceroy's Executive Council introduced this bill on 1883 to allow Indian judges to try European offenders in criminal cases. British opposition. The bill faced a severe backlash from British officials and planters, as they saw it as an attack on their privileges. Result: the bill was watered down, highlighting racial discrimination under British rule. Lord Ripon pro-Indian reform as a most pro-Indian viceroy, advocating for local self-government and social justice. Factory Act 18, Acts 1881 to 1891. Labor reforms. First Factory Act 1881. First Factory Act 1881 applied to factories with 100 or more workers. Banned child labor below 7 years. Aged children as 7 to 12 years. Had working hours reduced to 9 hours per day. Allowed 4 leaves per month. With 100 or more workers. Banned child labor below 7 years. Children aged 7 to 12 years and had working hours reduced to 9 years per day, allowed 4 leaves per month. Second Factory Act of 1891 introduced weekly holidays for factory workers. Improved working condition, though still exploitative by modern standards. Local self-government and press freedom. Lord Ripon and Charles Metcalfe. Lord Ripon, 1880 to 1884, known as father of local self-government in India. Lord Ripon, 1880 to 1884, known as father of local self-government in India. Charles Metcalfe, acting Governor General, 1835 to 1836, removed restrictions on the Indian press, known as liberator of Indian press. Archaeological Survey of India and Monuments Protection. Asiatic Society of Bengal, founded by Sir William Jones, 1784. ठीक. Asiatic Society of Bengal, founded by Sir William Jones, लॉर्ड हेस्टिंग ने बहुत मदद की थी. आर्कियोलॉजिकल सर्वे ऑफ इंडिया एस्टैब्लिश 1861 बाय अलेक्जेंडर कनिंघम. लॉर्ड कर्जन 1899 to 1905 integrated ASI in 1901. John Marshall became the Director General in 1902. ठीक. Introduced ancient monument protection in 1904, allocating 50,000 euros for monument preservation. Morley Minto reforms 1909. Separate electorates. Lord Minto 1905 to 1910 and George Morley, Secretary of State of India. मिंटो जो थे वो कौन थे? वाइसराय थे उस समय. और फिर जॉन मॉर्ले सेक्रेटरी थे. इंट्रोड्यूस सेपरेट इलेक्टोरेट फॉर मुस्लिम्स. दिस पॉलिसी लेड द फॉर्मेशन कम्युनल डिवीजन, लेटर कंट्रीब्यूटिंग द पार्टीशन ऑफ इंडिया. थर्ड दिल्ली दरबार कब? 1911. पहला 1958, दूसरा 1858, दूसरा 77, फिर तीसरा 1911. लॉर्ड हर्डिंग 2, ठीक, 1910 to 16 shifted the capital from Calcutta to Delhi. दिल्ली दरबार. किंग जॉर्ज फिफ्थ एंड क्वीन मैरी, partition of Bengal 19 was annulled in 2 cases to ease national protest. ठीक. Freedom of press cut by Lytton's Vernacular Press Act 1878, but later restored by Metcalfe. Judicial equality. The Ilbert Bill was a step forward but ultimately failed due to British opposition. Labor Reforms Factory Act 1888, 1881 and 1891 aimed at improving child labor conditions but favored British industrialists. Archaeology and Heritage. The ASI 1861 to 1901 and the Monuments Protection Act 1904 preserved Indian history. Political divide. मोहल्ले मिंटो रिफॉर्म्स 1909 introduced separate electorates, fueling communal divisions. Capital shift, Delhi became new capital 1911, marking a major administrative change.